talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
You were...
Well, let me put it to you this way. If you knew better and you were still told to marry this person you did not love because you were expected to, how would you take it?
Well, it depends on how you
How would
raised
you
culture.
No, how
you
would you
be
take
resentful.
it?
You would not like it.
So, are we following the same reasoning that says that I would not have done it if I didn't love?
Well,
Plus he worked beside me.
Right.
It was great. It's like, ooh, I have a lover and then I have a lab assistant. It's perfect.
Let's talk about how you met. That what you were assigned a research grant to study the magnetic properties of steel, and he was in that lab in that study. That's how you met him.
Mm-hmm. And of course, you know, frivolous things as love, as I thought at the time, were not on my mind, obviously.
Well, he was older, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
By a lot, so that's interesting.
Again, it wasn't something that I had foreseen.
Well, I could say that about my husband. I am older than him by a lot. So I agree.
And you didn't marry him because you were expected to?
No.
Mm. So we are very similar.
So can we talk about, from your perspective, because I'm very curious, why was the French so open-armed about educating you versus the culture you grew up in?
Well, the culture I grew up in was more uptight.
Rigid,
set in their ways. The French, well, they've been open-minded on many things.
Right.
Including some that shan't be named.
Right. But
so
education for women was no big deal.
No, but they didn't oppose to it. It was more of a question, really.
What was the question?
They were not actively thinking upon, hey, should we enroll a woman? No, it was more like, I wish to learn here. And they were like, I have no problem with that.
So they saw it from a different perspective.
They did. They saw no problems with it whatsoever. And so they were, okay.
Did you have to prove your ability?
I did have to enroll the same as every other male student. I was told that much. And of course, when I passed, they're like, sacre bleu.
Well, what was the percentage of the women students versus the men when you were there? Was it small? Was it equal? Was it... Because you got the first PhD from that the Sorbonne had issued, right?
Majority were male.
So did they ignore you, or?
No.
Did you ignore them? Were you just like, I'm here to learn?
Mm. You know, when we're focused on something, everything else just falls away.
So you didn't care about socializing, the French laissez-faire, you know, it's like you're there to do your thing. It's more of...
Well, I may want to actually learn and break that culture norm, but I was still more of a uptight when it comes to those affairs.
Because you didn't have that experience to...
Exactly.
Really...
So I was a bit of a stiff, if you will.
Well, Pierre must have saw something in you. What was it? I'm sure you've had that conversation since then.
Well, looking at it now, it was supposed to happen like that, but then...
Right.
You saw an eager desire to, learn and, accomplish something that, most women do not aspire to.
So he was, before you met, he was studying magnetism, right? And so you were combined with that study. And then I found an interesting thing that was attributed, that you were taught, maybe by your parents, whether it's true or not, that progress is neither swift or easy. Would you agree with that?
And it is never easy.
So you were prepared to be in the long haul and maybe not even see improvement.
It ultimately killed me.
Well, yeah,
don't you think
you didn't know.
that progress?
Well, how did you get involved with the discovery of, the new elements?
Because it fascinated me. The unknown either scares you or it fascinates you.
Well, you had some people that were, I forget their names, but they were.
What must we always go to the facts on the paper?
Well, I just make sure I cover the stuff that I find interesting.
Engage the person, not the study. And
how does one discover an element? I know that you documented it, but I am not scientific. So, how do you discover an element?
You have to know what has been discovered first. Mm-hmm. You have to know what is being researched, what has been researched. And you have to go through what other people have learned and documented first. And because you can't start from fresh.
Right. Well, I find that too, because in my projects, it's like, in order to advance something, I need to know what is out there. Because you can't just create an idea out of a vacuum, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to have some sort of spark, right? So what is built upon from before carries on, then inspires to the next level.
And then the actual finding the elements versus studying them was very, small in comparison. And then of course studying them, that was the majority of my time.
So you'd go in, and how do you study an element, something that you can't see?
You have to do a series of tests. Like if I poke it, if I change the temperature, you gotta continuously do things, and it may be strenuous or constantly tedious, but eventually you're gonna see outlines.
Well, what about the theory of you'll see what you want to see? How does that apply to science? Because you have a thought process, and everything is going to be, your vision of it, your understanding of it is going to be based off of what you expect to see. How do you not do that as a scientist?
You got to do it as much and by the book as you can, and do all the tests in order. This, document it.
So is it still the you form a hypothesis, you the whole scientific method that is still used?
I was not very fond of trees, as you can tell. So much of them were sacrificed for my cause, I'm afraid.
Well,
and then I had stacks upon stacks of papers of frivolent little things, data sheets and everything I documented, recorded, and just stacked over there. And then, of course, every time I would have someone over, like, no, don't touch that. I have those in order.
You know where they are. I understand how that goes. I'm like that too.
And then, things that in my life, going back to, what is expected of a woman. I did not expect to have children.
So how did you balance that with your work? Children and work?
There's no real preparation for motherhood. You're just like, here it is.
Right. They didn't.
Like, let's grow it in you, let's take it out of you, give it back to you, and good luck.
Yeah, now you've got books on how to, on every little aspect of pregnancy. And
so yes, it was a very, very steep learning curve.
Well, how did you feel about being a mother?
At times. It depends on the emotions, like, happy, sad, anger, distress,
Did you felt that it interfered with your work?
Of course it does. But, like all things, it was temporary.
Yeah,
and then, of course, when she was at the age, she just loved to play with Mommy. It's like, Mommy, can we go do your machine? It's like, no, sweetheart, it's not called a machine, it's called...
Was that Irene? She's the one that, she won a Nobel
yes,
too.
She did too. Yeah, I was so proud of her. And
that was after you, was that before you left or after? I don't remember, but anyways.
Yes, of course, mother winning 2 Nobel Prizes.
Well, let's talk about that, because I was reading that you just kind of downplayed it.
Yeah. Well, let's put it to you here. Going back to being socially awkward and not having good social skills.
Right.
Me and my husband did not go to receive our...
I know. I read that because
You're like, we're busy. This is,
Well,
Because when you're in the throw of it, you're not gonna regain that momentum you lost very easy. And it's like, I want to waste time. Just go.
well, what was it about the honor that did you not feel that you deserved it, or that it was not important enough? What was it?
No, it was more like I didn't have time. And apparently I did not have enough time, as you can see. And it's not a way I'm going to choose to go again, I can tell you that